right? All right, so, and you know what? I love this dialogue, Noah, because you have positioned yourself as well. You've done exactly the same thing. You've done it in the builder business, right?
Yep.
So we can follow a script here or we can just talk. But the first question I would ask you is, why work with builders at all?
Well, I think it's simple. We're in the business of selling homes, so we target the people that are making them. Every deal with the builder is typically worth 2, 3, and 4 sides.
Why is that?
So what I mean by that is, typically we'll go out and we will find the lot or the land. Usually it's not on the market, and we'll bring a builder to that lot, so that's potentially 2 sides right there. And then, it took me off my script.
Yeah, I don't want you to do a script, because you and I talked a couple of times. We're going to go off script here, because you know what to say. And forget the script. In fact, we're just going to do this. No, you're good, trust me. So here's the question. Well, because I want to get to the fundamentals of this. He rocks, trust me. No, the question is, what are you doing? You work with builders, but the way you do it is not like anyone who's going to be on the stage, okay? Yeah. Because you're doing something fundamentally different than the way everyone else out there is doing it. What are you doing different?
Well, we're able to sell people homes without them ever stepping foot into the house.
Yeah, but let's go back. I got that one. That's phase 2 of what you do that these guys don't understand. But phase 1 is, how did you get the property to begin with?
All right, so I'll take you back to 2010. So in 2010, I listed one property. It was an old shell in a bad neighborhood, and I put it up for sale. And I had about 20 different builders call me on the phone and say that they wanted to buy this. Well, I told them, hey, I've already sold this property, but what are you looking for? I can help you find something else. So I figured out what they were looking for. And then I spent the next 2 weeks driving around in that particular neighborhood, looking for every vacant lot and every shell that I could find. Put together a list of about 200 properties. And then I went online, public records, all that stuff, and looked for the contact information for those people, the lot size, what the zoning was on it. And then I just started making calls, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I know you have a lot for sale. I have some people that might want to buy it. Would you be interested in selling it? So we got a lot of people that hung up on me.
Were these lots for sale, or were these vacant lots?
None of these were for sale.
Okay, because you just said you have a lot for sale, but I know that's not what you meant.
You have a lot.
You have a lot.
You have a lot.
Yeah.
Are you interested in selling it?
Right.
A lot of people said no, but a lot of people said yes. So that year I put together probably about 50 deals just from calling that list of people. So I spent the next 2 weeks just calling those people and put together about 50 deals that year. So what happened the following year is those 50 people built houses on it. And so I had 50 potential listings the next year, plus a lot more, but those 50
wow.
in general.
So they trusted you, they agreed, most of them or all of them agreed to let you market the property they built.
Correct. Typically you find the lot and they give you a listing on the back end.
Gotcha, okay. So phase 1 of what you do, I just want to divide this into 2 conversations because both of these are unique, Tony. They're very unique, very purposeful, right? And that is on the front end, you're actually going out and you're basically cold calling around land, lots.
Correct.
And when you're looking, you know what builders want or don't want, or you have an idea now. You have real clarity about that.
Now I do, yes.
Yeah. And so you're calling around that saying, I could potentially help you sell it. Would you be interested in, right? Let's price it. Let's see if we can get the price right and go do this. So that's phase 1.
Some of these people don't even know they have this land, or some of them have bought it for so cheap 20, 30 years ago that they're happy to make a nice profit on it. And, everybody's able to make money on it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I ended up being the beneficiary of this type of prospecting when a partner of mine was out looking for a home to buy and knocked on the door. And the people said, well, we're not selling, but the house next door is coming on the market because the kid inherited it from his aunt. And turns out the kid had never seen the house. It did end up coming on the market for sale about $200,000 to $250,000 below price because the kid just wanted to sell it.
Yeah.
And the contract was in and done. And after we closed, we were immediately offered a couple $100,000 to flip it. We did not, but
yeah,
this was about 6 months ago.
This is what we're doing, and it's exciting because we're essentially creating business out of thin air.
Yeah.
Business doesn't exist. We're going out and finding it.
Yeah.
There's a need, and we're matching it together, and then it's a spiral effect after that.
Yeah, the internet can't do this.
Well, yeah.
No, it can't. It won't ever do this. It can't do this. It can facilitate, but it can't do that specifically. It can't put those things together and make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it can't do that. So then there's a flip side. So that's one segment of what you do.
Right.
You help builders find property.
Correct. So that's stage one. Find the land. That's the main thing. You find the land, you get the listing on the back end. Then from there, what we do is we help the builder understand what it is that the essentially highest and best use is for the property. So what is the best product to put on that particular lot or lots in this particular market?
Right.
That's step two. Once we've figured out exactly
What does that research look like? Or what does that information look like, Noah, that you sit down with the builder? Is that just a cup of coffee and a discussion? Or is there statistics or data? Is there something you're putting in front of them?
So honestly, it's just knowledge of the market. So I can go into one neighborhood where they're selling $1 million homes, and I can go into another neighborhood where they're selling $250,000 homes. And I know not to put the $1 million, 5,000 square foot home into the $250,000 market. So it's honestly just knowledge of the market. It doesn't matter where it is. Wherever whatever the market tells you for that type of product, that's what you're going to put there.
Okay.
So one other little step further than that, you have to know the zoning codes, because you can't just put whatever you want on any piece of property.
Right, that's right.
Okay,
So zoning codes are magic, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I bought a piece of property, Noah, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, and all I paid, and it turned out it was a cold call. The developer needed to sell a piece of the property. I didn't make the cold call, the real estate agent did on my behalf, by the way. And, they made the cold call, the developer needed their note was due, and they didn't have the money to make the payment, so they needed to cut off a piece and sell it. So they took the most valuable but smallest piece to sell it. I think we paid maybe $375, $400, something in that range for the property. And then we changed the zoning and sold it for $1.15.
So it's important to know that.
There's a bank there today. You drive by there today when you go to work.
Yeah. So you make a good point. You can't look at a piece of land for what it is or what it was. You have to look at it more for what the potential is in the future. So a lot of times,
that's right.
And this is scalable throughout the country. So in my market, we're kind of urban infill for the most part for onesie, twosie lots. But every once in a while, I can find a big warehouse or an apartment building, or I'll look on public records and find one owner owns 10 properties, and we can contact them. And you can knock them down, and you can put whatever you want there. So you have to, don't look at it for what it is, you have to look at it for what it could be. And those of you out there that are in more suburban settings where you're looking at big pieces of land, sometimes there's a small house that sits on a huge lot, so you have to look at the parcel maps and the zoning maps and all that stuff too, to do your research to really see how big it is.
Yeah, Jason, my investment partner, bought a $1.2 million lot about a half a mile from my house. Got it re-subdivided into 7 lots and sold them for an average price of $700,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and sold them all out to builders in 30 days.
Wow. I'd like to get to that partnership.
Yeah, well, there you go. Keep going, young man.
All right. So, let's talk more about that.
You got it. Yeah, I was going to say, you got his mind going.
No. I just want to tell you, he did exactly what you did, only he became the developer instead of just selling. He actually bought and again, subdivided it into 7 lots and just sold it. It's one of those things that happens. It doesn't happen every day, but you don't need to have that happen every day.
But I'm involved in that sometimes too. So while sometimes I'll sell people land for them to build on and me to sell, sometimes they decide to just flip it for a profit, and then I basically take that piece of land that I sold them, we get it zoned, or I help them get it zoned for whatever's going to go there. Now all of a sudden it's more valuable. Now I take, let's say, total was $300,000 when we bought it. Now that land's worth $600,000 or $700,000. I take that, sell it to another builder, so now you make, you're making the commissions off of that, and now you've got another group of builders who's doing the same thing. So you can potentially add another side to that.
Now there's the flip side of what you do. So the first side of this is your very methodical approach to finding potential lot here and there or piece that can be divided up. You're not doing subdivisions. You're finding parcels of land. And again, like you said, it's urban infill. So you could actually be finding something that has to be torn down in order to,
That's what I'm doing now. In my previous life, before I was doing this, I would look at large pieces of land And I wouldn't even ever go to the property. I would just literally go click on the parcel maps and just see how big something was. And once I found something big enough that was vacant, I would just sit there and I would draw pictures on a piece of paper and figure out what you can build there. So you have to be able to kind of foresee that and visualize that as well.
Now there's another half of what you do, and that is now that your builder is going to build something on it, what do you do?
Okay, so now that we've figured out what we're going to build on it, so there's one half step before that. We figured out what we're going to build on it. We know what the product is, how much it's going to sell for, because we've run the comps and we know the product is going to sell for X amount of dollars. Now we have to know how much that's going to cost. Now that knowledge has come over time just from dealing with a lot of builders, and everyone's basically the same. But you have to know what it's going to cost. In my market, you know, the general benchmark is like $100 a square foot to build. For the luxury homes, you know, potentially $120, $150 a square foot. But if you're working with a specific builder, you have to know how much it costs them, because some can go for cheaper, some can cost more, and that affects your model. So once we know what we're building, we put together a financial model for them. So we say, I think you should buy this piece of ground. You can put 1 home on it, 10 homes on it, whatever it is. Here's how much it's going to cost you to buy. Here's how much your closing costs to buy it are going to be. Here's what we can sell it for based upon the comps that I'm showing you right now. Here's how much it's going to cost you to build this particular house based upon, you know, my knowledge and I know how much it costs you to build stuff. Here's how much it's going to cost you to sell it by paying me commission and transfer tax and all the other fees that are involved. And here's what your profit is. And some people, some builders, not every builder is equal. Some builders say, I want, you know, my market would say, I want 20% return on investment, 25% return on investment. Some people say, I want to make $75,000 a house or $100,000 a house. So not everybody is different. So that's part of my initial conversation with them. What is your strategy here? Is it a percentage? Is it a dollar amount? And once we establish that, we only present them opportunities that are fit that criteria.
Right.
So
now we have a house.
Now we have a house.
Now we need to sell it.
Now we have a product.
Or we have something that's fixing to be built. It hasn't been built yet.
Correct. Now they bought into the project.
Okay.
So we got it now, right?
Okay, got it.
Okay, so now that we know what we're building here and the product that we're building, we create a brand and an identity for them. So what does that mean? So we first will create a name for the project if it's a big enough project. So we get a logo made. So typically where we get our logos, we go to 99designs.com.
That's what I use.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were telling me to stop.
No, 99 Design is a good one. That's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we get the logo, we get the name of the project, and then we start creating our marketing material. So we'll sit down, we'll have an initial meeting with them. We say, tell me the specs that you want for the house. And we sit down and we create a really detailed building specs, which is what goes inside the walls, the type of lumber that they're using, every little detail that goes to building a house. And then we go floor by floor.
How hard is it to get them to give you all that?
A lot of times they don't know. A lot of times I have to say, hey, here's what other builders are doing. I think you should do this. And sometimes it's a suggestion to them, and sometimes they know. So sometimes it is difficult. But you know, I kind of tell them, I know this is the product that's going to work. This is what I think you should do. And a lot of times they'll do it.
Okay.
So we create the specs and we go floor by floor.
So the goal is to get them to commit to specs.
Correct.
We need you to commit to a floor plan, to an elevation. We need you to commit to specs inside and allowances for appliances and all of that.
If we're going for allowances, yes. If not, we say pick your stuff out. We'll take photos of it. We put a complete marketing package together.
Gotcha.
So we'll have, here's your floor plans. Here's your 3D floor plans. We get renderings of the exterior of the building, and now we're starting to do interior renderings. And I think on one of the next slides, or a couple slides, we have.
We're done with slides, buddy.
We have some interior shots of so what we do here.
Yeah,
so we get, that's the 3D floor plan that you're seeing right there, and then those are some of the interior rendering shots. So basically, when we're putting this package together, a buyer will know exactly what they're getting. They have a whole page for appliances. They have a whole page for all the specs. They have a whole page for the renderings.
Yeah.
And it leaves, there's no details that a buyer, there's nothing left to question, really. There's really no gray areas. With new construction, you don't want any gray areas.
Well, and here's an interesting question. Do you think people prefer to buy something that is already built or something that they can imagine?
You know, I think in general, people think they want to build their own house and design it and be able to pick out all their own finishes, and then when it comes down to it, people typically can't handle that.
Right. Isn't that interesting? Yes. So having made all those decisions, but they still can change colors, they can, right?
That's exactly right.
And they can do the minor little tweaking.
And you know, we tell a lot of our builders want to say, Well, we can do whatever we want, and we try to get away from that because when you
That's
go
exactly right. No, that's a can of worms.
when you go and buy a car, they don't say, here's the car, pick whatever you want. They say, here's the car, pick the interior color, pick the exterior color, and a couple options.
That's right.
So we say the same thing with our builders. We're saying, here's what we're selling, here's the house, here's what comes with it, and you have a couple colors that you can pick for the cabinets and floors.
So here's my other question, and that is, do you find that people are attracted to the idea of the home being built versus there it is on the ground and I just buy that?
Yeah, I think people are always going to be attracted to the quote shiny new object, and being able to pick what they want and have it customized to their exact tastes. I think that's always going to be something that people are going to want for the foreseeable future.
And even though they're not customizing that, they got to choose that before it was built. So they got to choose what that was going to do, which kind of feels like they're building it, when in effect they're not.
They're not. And a lot of times they realize that while they wanted to have those decisions, they're not cut out for it. They're not designers. They don't know how to match the colors up and everything. But having these specs and all this stuff makes it easy for people. And we spent years putting all this stuff together. We put it on our website at phillyliving.com/megacamp. So people can go on, they can download this stuff, and they can use it in their presentations.
Say that again?
phillyliving.com/megacamp.
phillyliving.com/megacamp.
And we have all that stuff people can download right on the
Thanks.
website.
Well, my experience has been that people are really attracted to the idea of blue sky.
Yeah.
So if you stand there and say, imagine your home here on this lot and a few planted trees and look what that could look like. Oddly enough, if people have the patience to wait 9 months or however long it's going to take to build that property, they're attracted to that.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing if they can wait.
It is. And we have to create the marketing materials for them that it's just so vivid and so clear that, again,
There's the trick.
They never have to step foot into that.
99% of the agents do the minimum.
Yes.
Even when they're doing a home that's being built, Tony, they do the minimum. They don't go to this effort. They don't imagine, they don't ask the question, how would I have to present the property that would sell pre-construction?
Correct.
And that's the question you're asking. You're asking a very specific question, Noah. You're asking that question.
There's difference. There's new construction and there's pre-construction. While they're one and the same, they're very different. And there's people that can sell new construction, there's people that can sell pre-construction. If you want to sell something before it's ever built, you have to be able to get people to visualize what it is they're buying. They want to know exactly, they want to be able to close their eyes and walk through it in their mind and know exactly how to do it.
That's exactly right. That's right. What percent, just out of curiosity, what percent do you actually sell pre-construction, do you think?
Over 90%.
Dude, you are my new hero. Okay, last question then before we take a break. What's the downside to all this? This sounds too good to be true. I'm ready to sign up.
So the downside is, well, there's a couple downsides. Number one, potentially, I know you don't want to talk specifics on commission, but sometimes you have to offer a little discount on commission.
It's not a discount, it's just negotiated.
Volume
Shut
discount.
up. Yes, just shut up. No, I cut my teeth on builders. I mean, I early in my career I represented builders, and I totally get that. The reality is they're professional sellers. And because they're professional sellers, there's a discussion around what they're going to net and what they're willing to pay to market that isn't the same as talking to someone who is reselling homes.
There's one very big obvious downside, and that downside is that we're getting paid essentially the same amount of commission, and we're doing 2 and 3 times as much work. The buy cycle is a lot longer, so instead of a normal transaction that's 30 or 60 days to closing, this could be 6 months to a year before it closes. So the cycle's longer. You're dealing.
I don't think you're doing too bad.
We're starting to figure it out.
But I do get that. There's a period of time, and it could be a year.
Yeah.
You got to get the momentum going before you can get paid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plan for it, just like when people were selling short sales, they just planned for the long close, right?
No, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Don't bring that again.
Put your pendings at the end of the year.
Exactly.
This was awesome. Thank
All right,
you.
thanks, Mike.
Okay, so we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Get up and stretch.